when Spider-Man No Way Home premiered last December? The rumors around another movie almost instantly started spreading. Well, we're back on that again, and this time with some more serious statements and proposals. So, are we going to watch The Amazing Spider-Man 3 soon? Stay with me until the end and find out. Now, let's kick off with a short recap. Spider-Man No Way Home was probably the most exciting Spider-Man movie ever made, and having Andrew Garfield in the supporting role? Oh man, that was one of the highlights of the film. This movie was a huge success, so the rumors immediately started to spread that Sony was planning to make The Amazing Spider-Man 3. Right at this moment, Sony is making other movies, so the fact that The Amazing Spider-Man 3 appeared in a list of Sony's Spider-Man universe was not a surprise at all. In the meantime, however, we'll have to tolerate hurried projects like Morbius. And as for the Morbius sequel, well, that's out of the question, especially considering how the first movie ended. On their list, Sony has Madam Web with a release date of February 16th, 2024, and Kraven the Hunter with a release date of October 6th, 2023. But there is also Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, the animated sequel that will be released on June 2nd, 2023, and will hopefully be as amazing as the first movie. On top of all this, we know that Sony and Marvel are working on the next MCU Spider-Man film. Assuming it's a Tom Holland story, this will be a sort of reboot for the character. But I wanted to spend a few moments talking about the previous movie. Spider-Man 2 was a bit different. But what if we had a superhero movie that isn't full of action sequences? Focused more on the inside struggle of the character and his try to make a balance between his private relationships and his public responsibilities. Some sort of mumblecore Spider-Man. This might be a silly proposal, but why not? These effects-laden, comics-inspired blockbusters are made to serve as a runway for international audiences. They are products and part of a franchise. Some sort of fast food, drive-through hamburgers in cinematic form. Instead, working with veteran screenwriters like Jeff Pinkner, Roberto Orci, and Alex Kurtzman, the director Mark Webb decided to give us a film that's densely plotted with set pieces so big and glossy. Spidey swoops and swings through the sky, gliding between steep towers and tall buildings. But anyway, it eventually grows repetitive and weary, even though it looks sufficiently giddy at first. It was a bit confusing. Just when you think it's all finished, there's another climax, another villain, another fight, and another conclusion. It is very little that's truly compelling in this large bowl. I would say that The Amazing Spider-Man 2 had its highest point when it was the most intimate and quietest. One revelatory exchange between Sally Field as Peter's Aunt May and Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker is so poignant it makes you want to cry. And every scene with Emma Stone and Garfield leaps off the screen. Garfield gets to smash that like button just like you should do if you haven't done so already. No. But Garfield gets to be more playful and a bit lighter this time around. But his inner fight over the larger consequences of his arachnotastic powers and how to use them remains palpable. His innate rebelliousness is what made his performance in the original Amazing Spider-Man work so well, and different from Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man in Sam Raimi's movies. Garfield's Peter already had a chip on his shoulder from his outsider status and restless streak in him, which made his decision to be a vigilante crime fighter make more sense. Here, Garfield is a wisecracking, cheeky superhero of Marvel comic lore. But I'll stop here talking about the previous movie and focus more on what is coming next. Let's talk about the release date of The Amazing Spider-Man 3. Hint hint, nudge nudge, just recently via their official Twitter account, Sony teased the most inconspicuous teaser, and the world has been keeping anything but quiet ever since. Sony Pictures Entertainment owned Spider-Man rights for a long time. They had the right to distribute and produce Spider-Man projects for over a decade. So much so that the entertainment company and the mass media now have their very own Spider-Man universe. This was an opportunity to explore their own part of the Marvel universe. With Spider-Man No Way Home and their collaboration with Marvel in 2021, they broke all possible barriers. They need to finally deliver The Amazing Spider-Man 3. After all, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield did their own alternate universes. Nobody could take that from Sony. So the third Amazing Spider-Man could pick up from where No Way Home leaves. So finally, we'll forget all about the failures Sony suffered with Morbius and Venom Let There Be Carnage. On September 28th, Sony tweeted an image of Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man poster logo. That can't mean anything else. The studio is going for the third part. Are we going to watch the movie that will check the aftermath of the tragedy of Gwen Stacy's passing? That would be an amazing ending to Andrew Garfield's trilogy as the Marvel Comics superhero. Fans are more than up for the official announcement already, and all of the chaos is a sure sign of that. Before the latest installments and posts on social media, The Amazing Spider-Man 3 was more of a theory than a real thing. But now, we'll just have to wait. The Amazing Spider-Man 3 was already confirmed once, and both Mark Webb and Andrew Garfield confirmed they'd come back. Webb even revealed that this would have been his last Spider-Man film as director. Also, all three writers from the previous movies announced to return for the sequel. Talking to CBR, Chris Cooper said that he would have had a huge role in the movie. Paul Giamatti said that he would be happy to reprise his role of Rhino. Dennis Leary, whose memory haunts Peter in the second film, was also a name on that cast list. Our Mary Jane Watson in The Amazing Spider-Man 2 would hit that subscribe button and notification bell. No, really, in all seriousness now, the same Mary Jane Watson from The Amazing Spider-Man 2 would have returned for the third movie as well. With all that being said, it seems like something is happening in the background right now. And what about the plot, you would ask? The name most commonly related to the alter ego Green Goblin is Norman Osborn. So even though others have adopted the mantle, he was there first. We saw something different in the second movie though. The Green Goblin was Norman's son, Harry. The third movie was planned to focus on Garfield's Peter Parker and his inner struggle to recover and move on after the death of Emma Stone's Gwen Stacy. Talking to Den of Geek, Webb said, quote, Chris Cooper was going to come back and play the Goblin. We were going to freeze his head, and then he was going to be brought back to life. And then there was that character called the Gentleman. We had some notions about how to do it, but I think maybe we were thinking too far ahead when we started building into those things. But it was a fun exercise. I look back very fondly on those days. We remember that Norman Osborn died in the second movie. It was a mysterious illness that was a genetic illness that also affected Harry. In order to cure himself, Harry used Oscorp's spider venom, which transformed him into the Green Goblin. Oscorp was used as a supervillain factory in the Amazing Spider-Man films, especially if we take in mind that all villains are born from an accident at Oscorp in that universe. While Rhino, on the other hand, didn't fall into a vat of electric eels and did not become a lizard, he was given a mechanical suit by Oscorp after breaking out of prison. Anyway, whatever the plot will be, I'm more than sure it'll be amazing as always. Let's just hope it'll be released as soon as possible. And what do you think? What is your theory for the third movie? Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.